Hi guys, welcome back. Nigel here with you. Right, so we've got part 2 now of the build of this lovely new kit from Airfix, Western Sea King, and in 1/48 scale. And if you remember, in part 1 we looked at filling in these holes in the side. We had these panels to go in to replace the windows. We drilled some holes, we did some re-riveting, and all in all it's all looking pretty good. So we're happy with that. We also drilled the holes in the floor, and we drilled a hole in the belly and bits and pieces. So there we go. So now we can return to the instructions, and I've had a look through here and I've made a couple of observations, and I have a couple of questions for you guys. Hopefully you can answer me before I actually get to this stage in the build. So here we're looking at putting the big bulkhead behind the cockpit and adding this detail here, which is all going to be visible when you look inside the door. So apparently this is a P tube for peeing in. I thought it might be, but I didn't mention it in my review because I wasn't sure what it was, but apparently it is a P tube. My first observation is this. Okay, so version A, the cockpit interior is a grey colour, and for B, C and D it's black. Okay, right. For all the versions, the cargo area, if we'll call it that for want of a better word, the cargo area is grey, 125. Right. But they're saying that B, C and D, the rear of this bulkhead is black, whereas this area is grey. So you'll have a black bulkhead with a grey floor. And the A version is grey, so you'll have a grey bulkhead with a grey floor, which is great. Okay? When you look over here, they're saying to paint the front face of it grey. So you can have a grey front face with a black cockpit and a black back face with a grey cargo area. Surely that's wrong. Surely this face would be black and that one would be grey. Please tell me in the comments below. Same here. 85, which is black for this one in the cargo area, which is this bit here, and yet this bit here is grey. So why would that be black and that be grey? So you've got black, grey, grey, black. Don't get it. Please tell me in the comments below what you think. The seats are all fine and everything, that's all good. And then moving along, going through, when it comes to the interior, they're telling us to paint this 25. 25 is blue. What? Really? Is it blue inside? I did mention before that I thought there should have been some more detail on the side. It would appear that in use they had these sort of curtains on them that, you know, like basically insulate the sides from the people, so it's not so cold. But really, is that going to be blue? Is it? They're saying the top is 27, which is matte sea grey, which is understandable, but I can't see this would be blue. And then we come to here, there's no instruction at all on what colour to paint the inside of the fuselage. So I'm assuming that will be black in the cockpit area. So, and they're saying you'll paint this door blue as well. I don't get it. Surely this is all wrong. Surely that would be black, that would be grey, this would all be grey, and the sides would be grey. Surely. Please let me know in the comments below, because hopefully I'll end this video before I get to that point and you can answer in the comments. Today is Saturday the 6th of August, 5th of August even. Tomorrow is Sunday the 6th of August therefore, and I'm going to be going to the Avon show, I think, just for a couple of hours. I'll leave Jess on her own for a couple of hours, she'll be okay. And hopefully there'll be some Sea King experts I can speak to there and ask the question. But whatever. So anyway, moving forward, if you look for the instructions, you've got this A, B, C, D, and then you've got B, C, D, and then you've got A, and you've got all the differences here, and you've got all this stuff here, which is only for A and B, and blah, 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 blah. So what I've done, I've taken all the parts off the sprue that I don't need, and you can see there's a lot of them. Look at all that. There's a lot of detail there, a lot of internal parts that we don't use for version C. So we've got air filters, we've got a different front, we've got a different front underside. There's that bit that goes around the big hole in the floor, and then we've got that great big step, and then there's a bulkhead that goes in the back which we're not using, and all this framework for the sonar and everything. So lots and lots of stuff there that we're not going to use. So really happy I got rid of that, because I'm trying to basically get rid of a couple of sprues if I can, because the box is so ram-packed. The box is perfectly sized for the kit, if you like. So what I'm trying to do is get rid of some sprues. And what I've also done is taken these parts off here, and these are all the parts that we're going to use to build up steps. Is it steps 1 to... Basically we've got enough here to do steps 1 to 15. And we'll do some building. This piece here I accidentally cut off when I got the wrong, it was number 10, I cut off, it should have been number 11. So we've got some seat bases there, we've got the frames, everything, it's all cleaned up, all denibbed. These, oh, what are they called? I can't remember now, never mind. But you've got the controls there, you've got the actual main control stick there, and then you've got the, is it the cyclic on the side? I managed to snap one of them in half. It's always a problem when you're moulding little bits like this. The plastic sort of comes along. The plastic sort of comes along from each end and meets in the middle, and because it's so small, it's not moving very fast. You get a kind of a cold front, if you like. It's almost like it's not fully. It's starting to cure as it meets in the tool. So it always happens with all kits. I've mentioned it lots of times before. So I had that situation. Got a bit of a sprue nib there I haven't cleaned off properly, so we'll just deal with that a second. There we go. One of the funny things I'm finding with this plastic, you always get this white mark where there's a sprue nib. You always get a white mark. It's very strange, but it's smooth. It covers up with paint absolutely fine. I've also gone round and cleaned up all the seams. One recommendation as well is when you're doing stuff like this, after you've sanded it or got rid of all the seams, just give it a light brush over with some Tamiya Extra Thin, just to clean it up. There's some pretty heavy sprue gates on the control end of these sticks, so a little bit of sanding, careful, have a look what you're doing, and remove them. But they are quite heavy. I know where they're quite heavy is to get the plastic in there, so you don't get this cold front, as I say. But, there we go. So all in all, it's all looking very, very nice and very, very nicely detailed. I can see I've got some mould seams to get rid of on there still, actually, on those seat frames, because that's going to show up like a yeah, in the when we start to dry brush it and stuff. So as I say, we've got enough there to be getting on with lots and lots of bits and pieces. So we're going to have the bulkhead going in, and I'm going to glue that in straight away, because when we fit the bulkhead, as you can see, we have a seam there that I want to fill. So I'm going to fit this before I do any painting, so I can deal with that seam. So all we're going to do there is come along with our Extra Thin and just put some in there, put some in there, put some up there, and let it capillary around. We'll put some down there as well. And there we go. So now that's done, we can let that dry and I can deal with that seam. We've also got these bulkheads here to go together. I'm not going to worry about putting that P-tube in there. In fact, I don't think I even cut it off the sprue. I think I left it on the sprue. So we've got B47 and B38. So we're going to have to do some masking before we do any painting. But I want to get this done to check that it's all going to fit okay. That fits in there beautifully. See, we've got a seam there as well that we could have a look at. And that bulkhead is not quite straight, so it's actually going to need to be clamped together there. Just see how this one fits. It fits in there lovely, and that is a beautiful fit on that corner. Look at that. That is gorgeous. Right, so what we're going to do, first of all, I'm going to glue this corner together. Should be able to just put some up there and let it run in. We'll just get that glued together. and leave that to dry for a minute or two. So we'll let that dry, that part there. I'm going to paint that separately because that's an aluminium piece, and then you've got like a foot, that's where the door is here, that's going to go. So that's obviously where your feet go. Let's have a look at these seats. So we've got to make 2 of these up. Be careful when you get your parts off the sprues, because there's lots of different frames for different seats. I say lots, there's 2 different types, but there's lots of them. And we've got a horrible mould seam down there that I want to get rid of, which I thought I'd done all of these. Obviously I didn't. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go off camera and clean all these up again, because I don't know if you can see it on there, but there is a nasty mould seam around there, and on round parts mould seams just don't do it for me. So and I've only got 2 of them, so obviously I'm missing something here, because I should have had more than 2 of them. So I'll have to go back and get some more bits off the sprue. See you in a minute. Okay, so I've glued this this bulkhead part now to the bulkhead. I haven't glued it to the floor because I'm not sure about sort of this position. So once it's dry and that seams, then we can check it in the fuselage and make sure it's good, and then if it's good we can glue it. And then we're going to have some masking to do and stuff. So everything's looking good at the moment. Right, so moving along, looking at these seats, I've cleaned up these seams now. We've got aluminium frames, we've got bits of grey in there, we've got the rest of the seat being black. This is all black. So basically it's got aluminium frames with a grey bit in. What I'm going to do is build them, and then I'll brush paint the little bits in afterwards. So because actually painting all this and then trying to get it all together and keep the paint all neat and tidy is going to be a nightmare. So first of all we've got the seat back, and we've got this right hand side. So we've got the seat back and the right hand side, and that's going to go onto there. Is that the right side there I've got? Yes. I can't quite work out how this is going to go. Obviously, brand new kit, haven't seen anybody else do it. I'm purposely not watching anybody else's builds. Looks like that's how it's going to go, and that is a beautiful fit in there. That is really, really nice. Look at that, it just stays there on its own. So we can put a dab of extra thin into there and let that do its thing. Just like so. And then we've got the base going in. So let's grab a base, and that's going to sit in the back of there and on there. I think I'd rather put the other side on first. So where's another side? Another side, I said that all like Gloucester then, didn't I? Alright, my lover. So that's going to go on. That's going to go in there like that. Again, gorgeous fit. Just like so. And then this will drop in like that, I assume. There's me saying it's all a gorgeous fit, and I've got them not fitted correctly. They're splayed out. Yeah, they've got to fit vertically. Yeah, they've got to be on the bottom of those legs, and they don't seem to want to go. It's almost like those legs are just a tad too long. So I'm going to see if I can get that off of there. There we go. I'm just going to sand a bit off of there. I guess I should have done one off camera and then it would have been a far nicer presentation for you, but okay, that's better. Right, so that's going onto there, they're going in the sides there. And there we go. So that's how they go. So just with your sanding stick, just take a bit off the bottom of those legs, it will make it fit easier. There we go. And then the base, I'm assuming is just going to sit in there like that. Yep. You're not going to see much of this once it's all closed up anyway. But get it as nice as you can, don't you? So there we are. You've seen me almost cock that up, which is what this channel is all about. I show you the good and the bad. So you can see there's that seat there, all built up, beautifully detailed. No ejector pin marks that matter. There's a big one underneath there, but that doesn't matter. Very, very nice indeed. Lovely. Very, very nice. So that can sit there and wait. We've also got the cushion that's going to drop in. So that's just going to drop in like that, as you can see. That's a very nice fit. But I'm not going to fit that yet because we'll paint it separately. But you have the choice. You've got the detail in the bottom. You have the choice of having them cushioned or uncushioned. I'm not sure if certain variants didn't have a cushion. Very much like World War II bombers. Big discussion opener there. Right, so there we go. So we can do the other one. Let's just do this one. I wouldn't normally do the second one on camera, but because I messed up the first one, let's see how this goes. Right, so that's going to slot into there. And then that leg. Yeah, as you can see, you see what's happening is these two bits here are slotting into those two grooves on the side. And it's a little bit, we need to take a bit more off of there. I'm not used to this 48 scale stuff, guys. It's all a bit small for me. Here we go. There'll be people out there laughing their heads off at me now because they build 1/44. So there we go. That fits much nicer. So just get a drop of cement on there. Get that over. Yes, remember that sand some length off those legs on the bottom of the seat backs, and those sides will fit a lot nicer. And then before any of that dries, we're just going to drop the base in, just like so. Just bring that round a bit. Go. There we are. That's all gone together lovely. So there we are. We can let them dry. Make sure these legs stay under like that. So basically the problem is you've got this piece here, which is F39 and F38, and they glue into those two little slots on the side, and at the bottom there's a leg sticking out, and that has to go underneath that vertical leg, which is part of the backrest. And what you need to do is remove some plastic. You need to sand some plastic from these legs here so that they can slot under there, and it ends up looking like that rather than splaying out by the side. So there we go. Beautiful seats, lovely, very, very nice indeed. Just look at this one, just check it's all staying. Yeah, very, very nice indeed. And then moving on from there, they're telling us to glue these parts here, which is F16. Now what we're going to need to do is use the floor as a dummy if we're going to glue them on now, because basically it's going to go that way up. So that, let's get that peg off of there. That is going to sit in those holes there in the back of the cockpit floor, and then this is going to sit in those holes. Wish I hadn't fitted that bulkhead now. So right, let's get this in there. So that is going to sit in those holes there. That's the support for the back. And then this is going to sit in those holes there. And then this will come back to meet that rear support. There we go, that's going to fit into those grooves. So I think what we'll do is glue it together, and then once the glue starts to go, we'll put it in the floor. So that is going to go, there's two cutouts in there. Yeah, you need to make sure you get this right way around. It's detailed on both sides. I was just looking to see if it was actually detailed on both sides. I'm going to put a drop of quick setting in there and in there. And then slot that into there. Like so. So it looks about right. And then we get a drop of extra thin. Get that in there. Okay, and then we use our tweezers because I'm all fingers and thumbs. And then we can drop this into here. Just to make sure it's all going to fit, make sure the angles are all good. And there we go. So that's in like that. Very, very nice indeed. So we can let that sit there and dry, and then get the other one done. So then, while the seats are drying over here, we will get on and get this centre console done. So you can see we've got B45, which is this main support here for the instrument panel. We've got some ejector pin marks under there, which are horrible, but they don't matter because you're not going to see them. Let me get the light better for you. There we go, you're not going to see them. So there we go, and then we've got all these side pieces going on, as you can see. So let's get that done. Okay, so we've got this piece here first. This is B45. And then this piece here, B42, is going to go on the side, and you've got this support which goes up underneath. It's all beautifully detailed. I've got a mould seam there. Something I've realised with this plastic, you need to make sure when you cut your parts off the trees make sure you leave plenty of sprue nib on the part, because what I found, if you guys can remember, Meng used to use a green plastic and it was horrible. Now I'm not saying for 1 second this plastic's horrible, it's not. But if you remember, Meng used to make this green plastic, and the biggest problem with it was whenever you cut anything off it, it took a chunk of the plastic with it. No matter how sharp a tool you had, it was awful stuff, and they stopped using it. What this does, it doesn't take a chunk, but it just leaves a mark. Like you can see here, in this front of the seat, there's a white mark. Now, I don't think that's going to be visible under primer. If it is, we'll just have to fill it. But you just have to be a little bit careful. Maybe my nippers are a bit blunt or whatever, but just make sure that when you cut the parts off the sprue, leave a decent amount on there. You can see on there there's a white mark. On there where I've cut it off, there's a white mark there where I've cut it off. Just make sure you leave plenty on there and then sand the rest away, and you won't get these marks then. You can see on here that's what I've done, and there's no white mark where the sprue nibs are, so that's the thing to do. As you can see on here, I've left plenty on that one. Okay, so if I go in and cut it, sort of just leave a bit on and then sand the rest away, we won't get that telltale white mark, as you can see. Whereas if I cut it off on the surface, we end up with a white mark. So there we go. We'll see if it covers that with primer, but and if it is an issue, we just run a bit of super glue over there and sand it again. I'm not at all bothered. I'd much rather this than the blue tack plastic, as I call it. So now we've got these two pieces here, which is B48 and B37. So we've got B48 here is going that way, and then B37 is going that way, and I'm assuming that's going to go into there like that. They've really gone out of their way to get the detail in this cockpit. You know, for an out-of-the-box 48 scale cockpit, it's gorgeous. We've got all these pull handles and that on here, and then that's just going to go onto here, like so, and it fits beautifully. And this is the first time I've done this, guys. I haven't done any dry fitting or anything. So that's lovely, and then we can get some glue up under there. And then finally, we've got this panel which has gone on, and we've got a decal to go on there. So we'll get that on. And that's going to go through there. And that's just going to sit on top like that. And it's a lovely, lovely fit. I just want to check here I don't have anything sticking out. Because we had sprue nibs on there, and they've got these angled sides. They've got like a 45-degree, you can see we've got a beveled edge in there, and then this just drops in on top like so and fits lovely. What we'll do, we'll go around the edge of that with some super glue just to close up that little gap that's there. But saying that, it's all going to be painted black, you won't really see anything anyway. But we do have some lovely rivet detail, so I'll probably actually use Mr. Surfacer, and then I can remove the cotton bud. We've got some raised rivet detail in the panel in here, which is going to be picked up by a dry brushing. There we are. That's our centre console, and that will fit in there like that. As you can see, our cockpit is starting to come together. I may even take this to Bristol tomorrow, put it on the Gloucester stand. Let me just tack it together with some white glue. Excuse me. Now we've got these bits here. You've got this box, whatever it is, got on the back of one of the seats. So we're going to glue this together because we'll have a seam to deal with on there, no doubt. We've got a bit of a sprue nib left on there, have we? Or is that just the white mark? So we've got an open end and a closed end, so that's going to go like that. That goes together nicely, and then we'll get some extra thin into there, get some on the other end, let that dry, and then we'll go around with some super glue and sort out that seam. And there we are. So that is really, really nice, looking at that. Beautifully detailed. It is beautifully detailed, but it does need some seat belts. Get yourself some seat belts, guys. Honestly, it's just going to make that cockpit pop. And then going over the page here, we've got the console. We've got this little display here, and we've got the instrument panel there, so we can get that together. So let's get those off the sprue. Alright, we've got these three parts here, F21, F37, F45 off the sprue, clean them up. On the back of the instrument panel you can see we've got these Z pins, as I was talking about in part 1. We need to get rid of those. You see some people just snapping them off, just pushing them off with their finger. Be very careful doing that, because sometimes what will happen, you'll end up getting like a stress mark and it'll like pull a little bit on the front face, so be careful of that. So once we've got them off, we just need to sand the back just to make sure there's nothing protruding. Okay, just feel it, make sure it's all smooth. That's all good. And then that is going to glue up into there. And that fits in there lovely, so we can get some extra thin behind there. And a drop in behind there, just let it capillary in, that's enough to hold that in. Get that painted, get a gloss coat on there, and then we'll get that decal on there, which will look lovely. Then we've got this panel here, which has one chamfered edge, as you can see, and one flat edge. Excuse my fingernails, guys, they're disgusting. I'm sorry, but they are what they are, because I bite them, and I have done for the last 54 years. Okay, and that fits in there beautifully, just like that. There's no decal for that as far as I know, so we'll have to cover that with a bit of painting, a bit of dry brushing, whatever. But there we go, and then that will in turn sit on there like that, I guess. And there we have our cockpit, and if you look up through there, you can see how lovely that is. It is gorgeous. And then when we've got all the control sticks and the rudder pedals, now that's actually stuck itself onto there by the look of it. We've got our rudder pedals here, they are handed, and we've got our joysticks there, or control sticks, whatever you want to call them. I'm sure people will correct me in the comments below. It's funny sometimes, you know, you go out, you spend 150 quid on a kit, you spend 3-4 hours or even 3-4 days making a 1 hour long video, and you do all the editing and you get out and everything, and some people are like, you said that was left and really it should have been right. You know, yeah, thanks for that. You know, all that time and effort, and that's what you can do, is pick up on one word I said wrong. There's none weirder than folk, they say. Right, so, whoops. What I do appreciate is when I get things wrong and you put me right, as in terminology. So, like if I said that was the co-pilot and that was the pilot, and that's the wrong way round, you know, that's educational. Right, so that panel there is going to go onto the bulkhead. These are obviously our rudder pedals, and they're going to go into these positions down here. They are going to sit... which way round do they go? I'm guessing they don't matter, those two. These are going to go in that way, I'm guessing. But they're going to sit in like that. they can fit in there beautifully. These sticks are going to go in there. You'd never believe it's August. It's absolutely pouring down outside. This time last year it was 40 degrees, wasn't it? They're going to sit in there like so. That seat needs to go back. And then that's going to go in there like that. You can see how easy this goes together. It's beautifully made. And that's going to sit on there like that. I'll tell you what, that's the nicest 48 scale cockpit I've ever seen. I'm trying to hold up so you can see it. It won't stay together. So there we go. So I think it's time to get this all primered in black. I think what we'll do is fit this first. So this little panel here, this is part F20 and it's in step 1, and it goes. It's a bit strange. I've just noticed something. Oh no, that is okay. I thought they'd actually inverted it in the next drawing, but that's going to go onto that little lump there. So it's got a cut out in the back to go over that little peg. There we are. Drop of extra thin up in the corner and it won't get seen. Just make sure it's vertical. There we are. Lovely. That's going to look great when it's all painted and dry brushed. So there we are. I'm going to go and get things primed now. We've been about half an hour, so I'm going to call that a day for this one, and you can see that all of this is all cleaned up and it's all going to get primed now, and we'll see how it looks with the coat of primer on it. And I've got some filling to do first, haven't I? And I just wanted to, as I said, didn't I want to check this in the cockpit, in the fuselage, sorry. So that's going to go in like that, and that bulkhead. Oh, okay, that's unusual. It looks like... No, surely not. Just looking at how this is going in here. Yeah, the bulkhead is actually forward. It's not going inside the fuselage. So we can see that it's perfectly square because it's sitting equidistant from this edge here. So you can see that's lovely. Oops, that's how to break your parts, isn't it? Just drop great lumps of plastic on them. So what we're going to do here is just run some cement in there and in there. And then that can all go together. And I think what I'm going to do is, rather than start using super glue and sanding, I'm going to use Mr. Surfacer and remove the cotton bud, because we've got so much raised detail on here. If I start sanding, I'm going to start removing it, and we want to leave it there because I think I'm going to do some chipping on this. I think I'm going to spray it black, and then I think I'll paint it silver, paint it all black, and then chip it using the hairspray method, as you've seen me do on many occasions before. So what I'm going to do first of all is get some Mr. Surfacer on there. So I'll just show you me doing that, and then we'll call it a day. Alright, so I've got some black Mr. Surfacer. This is Mr. Finishing Surfacer 1500 black, and I'm using the black so that I can see it. If I use the grey, we won't be able to see it. So I'm just going to brush some into there, into that corner. Put it on Liberty because it's going to capillary in. Get some into there. Remember, we're going to have the door open on this one, so this is all going to be seen. And as I say, there's raised rivet detail everywhere, so we need to be very careful with our sanding sticks and stuff, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm going to remove this with a cotton bud rather than use a sanding stick, and that way we won't lose any detail at all, and we won't have any gaps. the gap, if there's a gap there, the Mr. Surfacer will go into the gap and it will become like a panel line. So there we are. As you can see, it's drying already. There was something here as well, wasn't there, we were going to do around here. I mean, probably Mr. Surfacer 500 would be more appropriate for this sort of work, but I wanted to use the black so that you can see what I'm doing. That there's going to be seen through the open door, because it sits right at the back of the cockpit, so we make sure we get all that sorted. I may even put some super glue in there and sand it. We shall see. I've done super glue on this. This is the box that goes behind the seat. I've done super glue on that one because that can be sanded. I don't think there's anything on these seats that needs to be looked at. I think they're all good. Yep, they're all lovely. Yeah, they're absolutely fine. They don't need to be looked at. And there's nothing else here. There's no sprue nibs we need to look at. So we're good to go. And you can see how that Mr. Surfacer capillaries in it. You can see it on this side. It's pulled through into the gap. So there we are. So we'll put a drop more down in there. There we are. So we'll leave that to dry for 10 minutes, and then we can go over with a cotton bud soaked in Mr. Colour Leveling Thinners and remove the excess. Alright, so a little while later now, we've got all the small parts. This is my old cheap wooden block with a couple of strips of blue tack on it. What we do is put the parts down on there ready for priming. So we'll give those a quick coat of primer and then we can see if there's any seams or anything need dealing with. So we've got the Mr. Surfacer in all these gaps. So what I'm going to do is, rather than sand them, because you can see here underneath there, you can see there's a lot of raised rivet detail on there, so we don't want to go sanding that away because it's going to look great with a dry brush. So what I've got here is Mr. Colour Leveling Thinners. This is Mr. Hobby product. It's in a smaller bottle. Normally it comes in a bottle this size. That's my dirty thinners in there. But what you do is you buy this one, the Mr. Tool Cleaner, and you buy 3 of them, and then you can decant your tool bottle into the small bottle. And a lot of people think it's like they see this on here, Mr. Colour Leveling Thinners 400. It's not 400. It's the 400 is the volume. 400 is nothing to do with the product itself. It's just the volume. So what we're going to do is just put the cover back on there, because we don't want to go breathing that in, do we? I've got a nice cocktail stick here, and I'm just going to rub this, and the actual Mr. Surfacer will come away. Generally it stains the plastic because it sort of burns in. That's why Mr. Surfacer is so good. And you can see even on this panel here with all these buttons and that, we can remove the Mr. Surfacer with the cotton bud and not lose any detail whatsoever. I think on this back edge I'm going to sand it because I want it to be smooth. Just do the same there. Just wipe it away. You can see the raised rivet detail is ripping the cotton bud to pieces. We've got those little pull levers there. We need to do some, have a look on Google at some images and see what colour, if they're going to be silver, white, red, yellow, whatever. And as I say, this piece on the back here, I'm going to sand that. I want that to be nice and smooth. There we go. And then underneath there as well we'll sand, because this is going to be visible through that side open door. So just sand that to get rid of any steps or anything. There we go. I can see the aftermarket jumping all over this. There's going to be cockpit sets and 3D printed panels and all sorts. And I'm hoping if Edward do a set for this, they do new panels for the sides here, and then you can sand it all, get it all nice, and then fit the Edward pieces. But as it stands, this kit hasn't been made available to any aftermarket people yet. And as I said, I've had to swear that I won't let any of the people that I normally deal with have this kit until release date. But I said to Dale, don't you worry about that, mate, I'm going to be building it as soon as it arrives. So there we go. I would have loved to have sent Peter over at ASK the clear parts so he could make the masking set for it, but as I say, I've had to sign my life away with Airfix to say that I won't do it. And I am a man of my word. So there we go. Right, so that's that done. And then we'll just basically do the same here. We go around all these edges, and what you will see is that the Mr. Surfacer will remain in the gaps, and we won't lose any of our detail. Now, I have seen people do this on videos using cellulose thinners. Seriously guys, don't. Cellulose thinners will damage the plastic and you'll lose all your detail. You may as well sand it if you're going to do that. And don't use rapid thinners or Mr. Tool Cleaner or anything like that, because they all damage the plastic. Just use Mr. Colour Leveling thinners. You can use IPA, but it takes forever because the Mr. Surfacer is quite resilient to IPA. But as you can see, we can go over all this detail here, look, and not lose any of the detail whatsoever. Just going to wet that there, wet that there, wet up there. As I say, this is going to be painted black and dark grey, so none of it's going to really matter too much. And also, yeah, at the beginning of this video, I was asking the question, if you could let me know, guys, is this supposed to be black here, grey here, black? I mean, there are people out there that know this inside out because they know Sea King's inside out, because Sea King has one hell of a following. And I'm going to say in every video, Airfix need to upscale this to 35th scale. It will sell all over the world. If anybody does a Sea King in 35th scale, they will become a very, very popular company. And if it's as nice as this appears to be, I mean, they could literally just upscale their CAD model. I think there's enough detail in here for 35th. There we go. That's that all done. And then what you can do if you want to is just grab another cotton bud. I'm going to use a soft Johnston's one now. Little drop more thinners on there. And then just go around and give it a final clean up. You don't have to, it doesn't matter. You won't see any of this under the paint because it's all feathered out. But you can just go around and just clean it up if you want to. The trouble is with cotton buds these days, they're made of paper. They used to be made of plastic. I'm all for saving the planet and recycling everything, which I do every week. But for us modelers, these paper shafted cotton buds are pretty much useless, as you can see. So it's a bit of a shame, but never mind. But you can get these. Simon got me these. Thank you very much, Simon. I'm still using them. He got me these from a pound shop. He sent me hundreds of them. and I've still got loads left, so thank you very much, mate. And if you are watching this, Simon, why have you gone so quiet? I haven't seen you comment on one of my videos for a long time. I have to get in touch with you, and as next see you on a live stream, I've got some F4 stuff for you to send you, but I'm going to have to get your address, because I don't keep people's addresses just in case I get hacked. Now, you can see, absolutely effing useless. And there we go. So if you are new to the hobby, hopefully you've learned something there. As I say, you will see people who shall remain nameless. You will see people use cellulose thinners. Do not do it. I don't know how they get away with it, but cellulose thinners will eat the plastic. There we go. So that's that done. That's all those gaps filled. When we paint that, we won't see any gaps there at all. And when you put a wash in, it'll be a panel line rather than a great big gap, great big gaping gap. Gaping gap. There we are. So that's all ready to paint now, so we can get that one on one of our Infini crocodile clips like that, where we've got all those bits ready to go. Oh, I did the that box that goes on the back of that seat. I did that with super glue. Went around and sanded it, and then I've glued it onto the seat, so we'll get all that done. And we've got all this ready to be primed. So I'm going to prime all this now. I'm going to prime it in black, and I'm going to use MRP Fine Black Surface Primer. The reason being, it's very tough. It dries very quickly. And once again, we're in a situation where Mr. Surfacer Black is not available. It keeps running out, and then we don't get any for months and months. So anyway, so I'm going to prime this in MRP Fine Surfacer Black, and then we can go from there. And I'll look at painting it all silver then, and getting it all chipped up. I think I'll actually cover these little holes in the floor as well, where those bits glue in. So I'll do that with a bit of tape, or perhaps a bit of liquid mask. So I'll see you back in part 3. We'll have all this primed up, and hope you enjoyed that little bit. If you are going to Bristol tomorrow, I may well be there, and I may well take this with me, just sort of temporarily, I don't know, temporarily glue it into here or something. I don't really know what to do. Temporarily put it in there so that you guys can have a look at it. Perhaps build up some of this in the back as well. So I will see you all for part 3, hopefully tomorrow. Bye for now.